This girl is a superstar. I've been saying it for years. I keep telling everybody she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball, college or pro. She is a superstar. I had the pleasure of doing an event with her on campus at Iowa a few months ago. I went there for my man Mark Shapiro, and I had a blast. She and I were on a panel together. She's a wonderful, wonderful young lady, incredibly poised, but this woman is the nation's leading scorer, averaging 31.5 points per game, shooting 40% from threes. She's hitting at least 5 3-pointers per game. She is elite. I'm telling y'all, wait till this girl gets to the WNBA. She is something special. Make no mistake about it. And I really, really, really am rooting for her. I really want to see her, again, have another shot at a national championship. She's my favorite player.
For years, I've been saying it, Caitlin Clark is a superstar. Whether it's college or pro, she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball. I've had the privilege of meeting her, and let me tell you, she's not only an incredible player but an incredibly poised young woman. I got to work with her at an event on the University of Iowa campus a few months ago, and I had an absolute blast. But beyond all that, what stands out is how exceptional she is on the court. Caitlin Clark is currently leading the nation in scoring, averaging an impressive 31.5 points per game, while shooting 40% from beyond the arc. She's knocking down at least 5 3-pointers per game, a remarkable feat that speaks to
Well, Caitlin Clark hugging her family, her brothers, Blake and Colin, her father Brent, her mother Ann, and heading to the podium. She is officially a member of the Indiana Fever after has decorated a collegiate career.
Because Caitlin Clark is something special. And I'm rooting for her to take another shot at a national championship. She's my favorite player. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Caitlin Clark is not just dominating the court, she's changing the game for the entire WNBA. Reports show that she's already earning $10 million through contracts, endorsements, and bonuses. That's a huge deal for the league, but not everyone's happy about it. Compared to theirs. But let's be real, is it jealousy, or is it fair? Before Caitlin Clark entered the league, the WNBA was struggling. Revenue was hovering around $200 million annually, with much of it being propped up by the NBA's subsidies. It was clear the league wasn't thriving, and it was difficult to attract mainstream attention. Attendance was averaging around 6,500 per game, and merchandise sales were a fraction of what the NBA pulled in. Even the WNBA Finals had trouble reaching 1 million viewers. But when Caitlin Clark declared for the WNBA draft, everything changed. The WNBA draft saw record-breaking viewership of 2.45 million, the most watched in history. Ticket sales for the Indiana Fever shot up over 400%, with their home opener selling out in record time. Other teams were benefiting too, just by having Caitlin on the road with them. Merchandise sales for Caitlin Clark jerseys exploded, making her the best-selling WNBA rookie ever. Even
Are they going to get the ball up in time? Clark for the win! She does it time and time!
Caitlin Clark has completely flipped the script. Some veteran players have voiced frustration about the attention and money Caitlin is getting. But let's look at the bigger picture. She's bringing in millions in additional revenue for the league. Sponsors are now paying attention, networks are paying higher broadcasting rights fees, and fans are flocking to the games to see her play. Caitlin is single-handedly changing the financial landscape of women's basketball. The WNBA has long fought for better pay and recognition. Thanks to Caitlin, that fight might just be coming to an end. Some teams are even using their newfound revenue to renovate their facilities and provide better benefits like private jets and massive bonuses for players. But let's talk about the pay situation. Caitlin Clark is the biggest star the WNBA has ever seen. Yet, she's still playing on a rookie contract that only pays her $75,000 a year, which, let's face it, is less than some people make working a desk job. This is despite Nike offering her a $28 million contract over 8 years, which still feels like a steal given her impact on the game. Some WNBA players, who haven't been able to But here's the thing, if anyone in this league deserves a raise, it's Caitlin Clark. She's bringing in the revenue and attention the league desperately needs. She should be compensated based on the WNBA's increased earnings, not some lowball rookie contract. Let's put this into perspective. Veteran players like Aya Wilson, who have been in the league for years, make around $240,000 per year. But Caitlin Clark, who is hands down the biggest draw in WNBA history, is making just $75,000 as a rookie. Every time she steps on the court,
To pass, Clark. Oh my! From Schenectady. Clark with and drains it. My goodness. Because she's how sick she was. Clark! She's
How will she go for history?
will she continue to dominate the WNBA? Without a doubt. But here's the real story. She's changing the future of women's basketball, and the league better recognize it. Let's address a common argument that's been thrown around. Some people claim Caitlin Clark's popularity is only because she's white. But here's the issue with that argument. There have been plenty of white WNBA players before Caitlin Clark, yet none of them have had the kind of impact she's had. If it was purely were in their prime. They were all incredible players, talented and white, but none of them pulled in the kind of attention Caitlin has. The truth is, Caitlin Clark's appeal goes beyond her race. It's her game. Her deep three-pointers are jaw-dropping, her court vision is unmatched, and her ability to make impossible passes and score from anywhere makes her a must-watch player. Caitlin isn't just good, she's revolutionary. She's changing the way people view women's basketball. Every time she hits a deep shot, or pulls off one of her signature moves, it leaves fans in awe. Her style is electrifying and draws people in like no one else. But Caitlin Clark isn't just about basketball. She's become a cultural phenomenon. Her presence transcends the sport. Recently, she showed up to a 7 a.m. Pro-Am golf event, and the crowd was massive. Most players would be lucky to pull in a crowd like that for an actual game, let alone for an early morning appearance at a golf event. Fans waited for hours just to catch a glimpse of her, and she took the time to sign autographs and interact with them. This is a level of fame that is rare for a WNBA player. It's something much bigger. Caitlin Clark isn't just attracting basketball fans, she's pulling in casual viewers, new audiences, and even people who've never cared about women's basketball before. That's a major shift. Now, some players like Angel Reese, who have built reputations on controversy and drama, are calling for higher salaries. If anyone deserves to be at the top of the WNBA's payroll, it's Caitlin Clark. She is the driving force behind the league's newfound success. Without her, the WNBA wouldn't even be talking about increased pay for players. Caitlin Clark is breaking records every time she steps on the court. Merchandise sales are soaring, and the league is finally seeing the kind of revenue they've been struggling to reach for years. Her jersey sales alone are making the WNBA millions. People who never watched a WNBA game are now lining up to see her play. Yet, despite all of this, Caitlin Clark's paycheck doesn't even come close to matching her worth. It's mind-blowing that her rookie contract is still below what some bench players in other leagues are making. Nike recognized her impact and offered Caitlin a $28 million contract over 8 years, a significant deal. But when you look at what she's bringing to the game, that deal seems like a bargain. Caitlin Clark is worth so much more than what's reflected in her salary. Before Caitlin Clark, WNBA viewership was struggling. The games weren't drawing big crowds, and the league had trouble making a mark in mainstream sports. Now, with Caitlin at the helm, WNBA games are becoming major events. But despite all of her success, she's still locked into a contract that doesn't reflect her true value. The WNBA has never seen a player like Caitlin Clark. She's the reason the league is in the conversation now. She's drawing record-breaking crowds, bringing in new fans, and generating millions for a league that once seemed stuck in the shadows. Every time Caitlin Clark steps on the court, she's not just playing basketball, she's changing the game. Caitlin Clark has quickly become the face of women's basketball, and her success is undeniable. In a single year, she's earned massive shoe deals and has brought a level of attention to the WNBA that's unprecedented. The real conversation isn't whether Caitlin deserves $10 million, it's why she's not making even more. While some WNBA players, who couldn't bring in a fraction of Caitlin's impact, are calling for higher salaries, the reality is Caitlin Clark is doing more for the league than anyone has in years. With the upcoming CBA discussions, there's no doubt that some players expect more money, and rightfully so. But here's the issue, the ones coming into the league after Caitlin, the rookies next is the reason the conversation about pay is happening in the first place. Why should Caitlin Clark be at the top of the pay scale? Because her impact is clear. In fact, out of the 24 games this season that crossed the 1 million viewer mark, 18 of them featured Caitlin Clark. This isn't a coincidence, this is the Caitlin Clark effect. Every time she takes the floor, fans tune in. It's not just about her skills, it's about the way she's turning the WNBA into an event. And it's not just about viewership. Caitlin Clark is revolutionizing the game's scheduling, sponsorships, and broadcasting rights. The Indiana Fever just secured a historic TV deal, with 41 of their 44 games being nationally broadcast, the highest in WNBA history. Her team's road games are selling out at an unprecedented rate, and ticket prices are skyrocketing. Sponsorships are flooding in from major brands eager to capitalize on her name. But here's the kicker, Caitlin Clark is still earning less than what a second-string NBA player makes in a week. Let that sink in. Despite the fact that she's single-handedly changing the financial future of the league, she's not being paid what she's worth. Every game she plays is drawing massive attention, and yet her salary doesn't reflect that. We saw this firsthand when other players like Angel Reese pushed for higher salaries, but it's clear that Caitlin Clark is the catalyst for the WNBA's resurgence. She's the reason why the league is finally thriving. But no matter how much she's bringing to the table, her pay hasn't caught up to the money she's generating. The league's entire financial future is tied to Caitlin Clark, yet she's not being compensated as she should be. Before Caitlin arrived, the WNBA struggled with poor TV ratings, empty arenas, low merchandise sales, and stagnant player salaries. The league needed a star, someone who could bring in a larger audience, and Caitlin Clark was the answer. Now, every game she plays feels like an event, drawing millions of viewers who never paid attention to the WNBA before. Merchandise sales are through the roof. Caitlin's jerseys are selling out constantly. Sponsors who once overlooked the league are now eager to attach themselves to her name. The WNBA is finally seeing the kind of success they've been striving for, but somehow, Caitlin Clark is still making less than a corporate intern. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player, she's a once-in-a-generation.
Harrington off the marches. Clark steps into a three. Netting three-point percentage, just under 29%. Clark heaves.
She works hard and does her work early before the ball.
And Parker married in the offseason. Clark catch and shoot, hits a three.
And Christy Sides told us Angel Reese. Clark gets freed up.
Caitlin's jerseys are selling out constantly. Sponsors who once overlooked the league are now eager to attach themselves to her name. The WNBA is finally seeing the kind of success they've been striving for, but somehow, Caitlin Clark is still making less than a corporate intern. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player, she's a once-in-a-generation talent who has transformed the WNBA into a league that's drawing attention on a global scale. But if Angel Reese and others are pushing for higher pay with their performances hurting the game, then why isn't Caitlin Clark at the top of the WNBA payroll? She's the reason the league is thriving, and it's time her salary reflects her undeniable impact.
Y'all benefited from everything. Y'all youngins benefited from NIL.
What does that mean? We deserve more. Everybody.
I agree.
Everybody.
I agree with that.
But we got to get paid for consequences.
Y'all got to deal with something.
But the women coming in, not this year, but next year.
Yeah.
The ones coming in this year will still be on the rookie contract again. Mm-hmm. The ones that the year after, they going to get more. They probably going to be making more than us.
Well, they are.
I'm hurt.
They are. Like, yeah. I've been in the meetings. They are.
I need to get in the meetings.
You need to come to the meetings.
I got to get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah,
For years, I've been saying it, Caitlin Clark is a superstar. Whether it's college or pro, she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball. I've had the privilege of meeting her, and let me tell you, she's not only an incredible player but an incredibly poised young woman. I got to work with her at an event on the University of Iowa campus a few months ago, and I had an absolute blast. But beyond all that, what stands out is how exceptional she is on the court. Caitlin Clark is currently leading the nation in scoring, averaging an impressive 31.5 points per game, while shooting 40% from beyond the arc. She's knocking down at least 5 three-pointers per game, a remarkable feat that speaks to her elite status. I'm telling you, the WNBA better get ready, because Caitlin Clark is something special. And I'm rooting for her to take another shot at a national championship. She's my favorite player. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Caitlin Clark is not just dominating the court, she's changing the game for the entire WNBA. Reports show that she's already earning $10 million through contracts, endorsements, and bonuses. That's a huge deal for the league, but not everyone's happy about it. Some players are raising eyebrows, wondering why Caitlin's pay is so high compared to theirs. But let's be real, is it jealousy, or is it fair? Before Caitlin Clark entered the league, the WNBA was struggling. Revenue was hovering around $200 million annually, with much of it being propped up by the end
of the game of the handshake line. Just wondering if you wanted to share what those were.
Well, there's not a whole lot of strategy. You got to guard her. Nobody else seems to be able to guard her. We didn't even guard her last year when we beat them. She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better. That's what the great ones do. I think they had a kid that scored 21 and 18. She had 12 assists. Caitlin Clark's not going to beat you by herself. It's what she does to make those other teammates better that helps her score points and them score points to beat you. What did I say to her? I said, I sure am glad you leaving. I said, girl, you something else. Never seen anything